Hi guys, you're welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Yvonne Princess Shabango. If you are new here, you're welcome to like, subscribe, share, and comment. And voila, you're part of the beautiful and the graceful and the wonderful family. We're back with another Employment Wednesday video. And you know, on a Wednesday, we talk all things employment, all things uplifting one another, all things sharing job posts, and actually ensuring that one person gets a job, either by sharing your job post, praying for them. If you know them by name, mention them to God, because you may never know. Maybe your prayer is all they've been waiting for. But without wasting any much of your time, we're back with another video. So today we're going to talk about, this video is titled Things That I Wish I Knew Before I Started Working. So basically things that I wish I knew at university level or at the time I started searching for employment or seeking for employment. So I am going to share this. These are not my wishes, but I asked a couple of my colleagues and other people, what do you wish you knew? What is it that you think would have made a difference in your career or in your journey to finding employment? So yeah, I'm just going to refer to my notes because these are not like my personal wishes. They like other people's thoughts and all of that, right? So number one, one of my colleagues said to me he wishes that he had read the book called Personality Type of Bosses, right? And I do agree with him, guys. If you know the type of person you work with, it makes things much more easier. But if you don't know the type of person they are or the type of boss they are, you may struggle for a very, very, very long time, or you may even end up quitting because there'll constantly be a clash of personalities. But if you know that, okay, fine, I'm working with this type of person, you know their weaknesses, you know their strengths, you know how to assist them as a junior, right? And then number two, he said that he wished he knew different types of company cultures. He wished he knew the type of company that he would like to work for in terms of company culture, which is very important, guys. We take for granted knowing the company culture, but actually that determines how long you stay in the industry, how long you stay in the company. So it's always important that you know that, okay, fine, I'm applying at this place, but what's their environment like? What's their company culture? What is expected of me? And then another one that we always take for granted, guys. I know you're looking for a job, you want a job, you want to grow, you want to be employed and stuff like that. But it's always important that you know the prospects of growth of that particular company. Where are they in the next 5 years? I think in one of the questions I said you should ask in an interview, actually ask them, where do you guys see the company in the next 5 years or in the next 2 years or in the future? What is the company looking to do in terms of OIR and stuff? So it's always important that you know the prospects of growth of the company, right? And then another thing that you need to know as well, I think this was asked by one of my Instagram followers who said, actually not asked, who said that they wish they knew that they had to have an honors for them to actually get a job within their field. So it's always important to know whether or not you will be required to extend your studies in the long run. Just free information to everyone that is looking into being a lecturer, especially in prominent universities that are of a good caliber. Half the time you will be required to have a master's. Actually, master's is requirement. Later on you'll be given time to get your PhD and to finish it up and stuff. So if you want to be part of academia, always consider postgrad studies, your master's, your PhD, and all of that. And then another one said, I wish I knew that the hours are longer. Guys, in the corporate world, I don't know in other spaces, but in the corporate world, 9 to 5 does not exist. Often you have to work longer hours than you would know. Like your contract would say 9 to 5, but half the time you actually work for 12 hours. You work 9 to 10, you work 9 to 9, you work as much as you need to, depending on what is required at that particular moment. And then this person also said, I wish I knew that I would have to work on weekends and that I don't own my weekends. Like, yeah, guys, your weekends, half the time, you have to divide them into yourself, into work stuff, into whatever that you need to do. Half the time people do their chores and their responsibilities on weekends. But yeah, if you're going to work 9 to 5 and all of that, be expecting to be asked to work on a weekend every now and then. It's nothing foreign. And then Somebody said, I wish I knew that I had to wear formal every single day. Goes back into the corporate world, and yeah, you just have to be formal. You have to look presentable. Personally, I know I'm fortunate that our company is not so fussy about being too formal, but you have to be presentable, especially as a junior, because your time is not usually set to say, okay, I know I'm going to a meeting, I know this, that. You always have to look presentable, just in case you get to the office and your seniors ask you to accompany them to a meeting, and imagine you're wearing your sweatpants to a meeting. Doesn't have much bearing, but in our profession, I know, particularly as a lawyer, there's a lot to do with appearance. How do you appear, and half the time when you appear, when you look good, when you feel good, then your confidence is on par, and when you walk into rooms, people tend to take you seriously. And then this one is so funny. This person said, I did not know that professional flirting is a thing. I don't even know what's professional flirting, guys. Getting you professional flirting, I don't know. Yeah, they said they didn't know that professional flirting is a thing. Basically flirting in the workplace. They were shocked to actually know that people get so comfortable with their colleagues that they start flirting. I don't know about that. So yeah. And then another one said, I wish I knew that work is not natural, because who likes to work? No one. But I mean, at the end of the day, we are out here to get our bag, and we're out here to be contributing citizens of society, and we're out here trying to grow and become better. So we are required to work. It's a natural process. I mean, if you look at it from the times of Adam and Eve, there was always some labor being put in, and if you look at how God created the earth, there was also some type of work being done. And also it being Speak Life September, you actually see that you actually see that when you speak, you also need to do. So yeah, work is not as natural as we would like it to be, hey? And then they also said they wish they knew that it's actually very hard to balance work, to balance social life, to balance just being human. Half the time you end up having to accommodate your life into your work instead of accommodating work into your life. And this is usually because people work because they need money, right? And it's because we come from different homes, and half the time you find that especially in the Black society, you are the breadwinner, you are the only person that went to uni. You have to do every single thing that you can to actually make sure that you keep that job, and you impress your bosses, and you get that bonus, and you get that promotion, and all of that, right? So yeah, you reach a point whereby this person said they really wish they knew that they would have to constantly sacrifice themselves, because in the workplace you reach a point whereby you end up sacrificing things that make you happy for things that are important, because I mean, money is important to keep you going, and it's a very convenient commodity that we all want to have, and it's expensive. Yeah. And then another one, and then somebody else said, I loved this one. Somebody said, I wish I knew all the options available to me. And this person studied law, they're a professional lawyer. They said they wish they knew other options as opposed to becoming an admitted attorney or just becoming an attorney. They wish they knew that there were other avenues. Guys, being a lawyer it's not entirely just about being an advocate and being an attorney. There's other things that you can look into, being a legal advisor, legal counsel, and all of those kind of things. But there's a lot more. I think if you're watching this, you know somebody that's studying law, you know somebody that is looking into studying law, make sure that let them know that they should do their research, because there's a lot of things that you can do with your legal degree. But it's unfortunate that all we know is that it's either you become an attorney or you become an advocate, which is not the case. And then I love this person because they were coming in hot. They also said, I wish I knew how to drive properly before I started work. Guys, I can never stress this enough. It's important that you have your license, and it's important that you actually can drive, right? And this is important because you become effective. Some companies have company cars, right? So there's a company car, you need to get something done, you don't have a license, or you have a license, you can't drive properly. It becomes a futile exercise. But if you know that whilst you're in uni, in your second year, you start your driving lessons, even if you don't get a car, right? But at least every year, remind yourself, go back to the driving school, so that when you start work and you can afford a car, or when there's a company car, you actually are able to drive it properly without any issues, you know. So this is a very good one, and this is me saying, go get your license, guys. Don't sit there and wait and think miracles are going to happen. Get your license. And then another person said, I wish I was more involved in drafting documents at university level. And this is a person who studied at the University of Pretoria at the time. Law clinic and drafting, all of those things were optional, so they did not go for them because they were optional. But they realized that it was very important when they went into the legal corporate space that actually I needed to be involved at university level so that I don't struggle. And it meant that they would have had a foundation before they got to work, right? So this is also me saying to everyone that's at university level, anyone that's looking into going into the legal space, corporate space, and half the time you're going to be required to draft letters, draft agreements, draft things, drafts. So if you can, make sure that you read as much as you can. It improves your grammar, not just like novels, but read the newspaper, read legal articles, that's if you're a lawyer, or read economical articles, that's if you're in the economical space. But just read, it improves your grammar. And then also it's important that you practice to draft. The more you practice, the more these things become very much easy. And then here's another one that we always try to speak about. This person said, I wish I knew that working is expensive, especially as a lawyer. Before I go into the part of especially as a lawyer, guys, working is expensive. You are going to pay for your lunch. You're going to pay for what you wear. You're going to pay for transport. You're going to pay to be at social gatherings. You're just going to pay. It's a lot more about paying. And as much as you receive, you keep on paying. And half the time we're not told. We think, oh no, I've got a job, I'm rich, I have everything. And only to realize that as you get a job, you realize that there's a lot more you need to do with that specific money, which is why it's always important that you actually try and have side hustles that will give you more money, right? And then in terms of law, right, a lot of lawyers will agree that it's very, this is a controversial statement that I'm going to say, but I mean, it is what it is, right? Our profession is very discriminatory in terms of looking at how some of the requirements that are required of us, like for instance, you're required in a lot of law firms, especially, let's excuse big ones and medium firms, but a lot of firms require you to have a car, because a lot of firms do litigation. A lot of firms have to go to court, they have to do this, and a lot of firms do not have messengers, and a lot of firms do not have company cars. You're required to have a car. So you can imagine, as a black student, you're from uni, you don't have a car, you don't even have a license, you don't have anything. And then you look at another thing, as a lawyer, you need to appear a certain way, you know, because that's how they take you serious. And I know I'm guilty of this. Sometimes when I look at a person, I'm like, dressed like that. But you find that as a lawyer, it's not optional. You have to constantly look a specific way. You have to preserve the specific image. And looking a certain way requires you to have money. You need money you're going to spend. So I think it's also advisable that if you're at uni level, you have other small jobs that you're doing, save as much as you can for formal clothing. That's if you're going into that type of space. But ensure that you save, and so that you can have more than enough formal clothes, right? Yeah. So guys, yeah, being a lawyer is very expensive, and it can be discriminatory to a certain extent, because as a black child or as a black lawyer, you have to constantly fight. You have to constantly fight to be seen. You have to constantly fight to be heard. You just have to fight, because we are fortunate that there are other amazing black lawyers that have decided to start up their own law firms. But also it's so hard on them as well, because in as much as they can accommodate us, sometimes they can't pay enough. Sometimes they're forced to request us to have cars because, I mean, they're starting from ground and they don't have enough funds and all of that. So yeah, our profession can be very discriminatory. And I've heard a lot of people say, I think this person actually said, oftenly you feel as though being a lawyer is not for the poor, and half the time you are trying to be a lawyer so that you can come out of poverty, but it actually gets harder. It's very sad, but yeah, I guess as time goes on things will change. I don't know, but yeah, when you are studying law, you have to bear in mind that some of those things you're going to have to do them for yourself. You can look at things like PLT. Some law firms don't pay for PLT. PLT is like 15,000 rand. Tell me if I'm going to get paid 3,500 rand during my articles, and then be expected to pay 15,000 rand or 18,000 rand for PLT. Like, it's hard. But I guess such things are part of life, and it is what it is, And then let me just quickly look at these ones. My last three, guys. Yeah, also you can tell me in the comment section things that you wish you knew before you start working, right? Things that you wish actually this would have assisted me, right? And then I love this one. This person says, I wish I knew that in the corporate space or in the corporate world, when you go to work, you're not going to work to make friends. You're going to work to get your bag and move on. Because friendships in the workplace can be very toxic, which leads to your mental health. And half the time you end up not feeling like going to work, or it ends up feeling like it's too much of a task. It ends up impacting on your mental health, and your workplace becomes an unpleasant place. And I agree with this one, guys. It's very important that you're careful in friendships in the workplace, because things could easily go south. Imagine fighting and beefing with a person that you have to constantly see every single day, especially if it's a small company. And then number two, this other person said, I wish I knew that selling yourself short in an interview because of desperation of being employed can be a disadvantage in your entire stay at the workplace, because once you've settled for less, you might never be considered to be deserving of being compensated accordingly or market related. And which is very true, guys. I think in the previous video, about 2 videos before this one, I did say that it's important that you're not afraid to talk about money. Guys, talk about money, and talk about money with your straight face. If it's 20K that you want, say it, and say it with your chest. It's like, I've said what I've said, and this 20,000 is justified, and this 20,000 is market related. And if you can't give me this 20,000, I'm good, thank you. Or I'm willing to negotiate as low as 17,000. Anything less than that, no. Because here's another thing. I feel like we've been instilled with this idea that talking about money is taboo. It's important to talk figures. I'm very fortunate, personally, to come from, like with my mom. My mom is never afraid to talk about money with me, and I'm never afraid to be like, Ma, I need 2,000 to do ABCD, and it's justified, and I have sisters, siblings that are never afraid to talk figures. I remember the other day, my cousin sister and I were driving from somewhere, right? And then she's like, we're randomly talking about millions, big figures. Like, oh no, I want this car, but it's 3 million. But you know what? You can get it. You deserve it. Let's work on a saving plan. Or I want this home. It's 4 million. Oh yeah, I can save up in the next 4 years. So it's important that you talk figures, guys. Never be afraid to talk about money. Like, I can't stress this enough. Talk about money, because if you go into the habit of being afraid to talk about money, that's how that particular company is going to treat you for the rest of your stay there. And one day when you wake up and ask for money, they're going to be like, Batu, you've changed. But only to realize that you've actually woken up. So from day one, if it's money that you love, let them think you love money. But yeah, money is energy, guys. Money answers to call. Don't be afraid of money. Don't be afraid of money. Don't be afraid of talking about money or afraid of money. And then last but not least, this person says, I wish I knew that it's a disadvantage to start working if you have interest of furthering your studies, because once you get exposed to the money you get from that job, it's almost impossible to quit and go back to studying, which will have you stuck in a low-paying junior position. I love this. Guys, here's the thing, man. you can do it. You can be working and be studying, but it's hard because now you have to finance your studies, you have to finance you going to work. Like I said earlier on, going to working is very expensive. Like it is what it is. Working is very, very, very expensive, right? Because you have to transport this, that, right? And then now you have to pay for studies, which may become tricky. And sometimes once you start working, it becomes almost hard for you to get bursaries, because some bursaries restrict you if you have got a job or if you've got employment, right? So I'd say, if you can, do your postgrad studies. Like, just plan around your postgrad studies whilst you are at undergrad level, right? And then also, sometimes if you can, have a plan. Okay, I'm going to work for 2 years, and then I'm going to save this much and stick to that plan, or have an investment plan, right? So that, like, for instance, you say, I'm going to work for 5 years, and then you've got an investment plan whereby you have to deposit maybe 3,000 Rand into that specific account, and then 5 years later, that's when you can withdraw it, then you can continue with your studies. Because aimlessly starting to work and think you're going to further your studies is almost playing yourself. Because, like this person said, you get exposed to money and you think this money is a lot, and you end up sacrificing you're sacrificing you learning a skill or getting a degree that could actually make you better, or that could actually get you promoted to a senior level, So guys, it's important that you plan. Planning is one of the most important things. Like, it will save you. And sometimes it's hard for us to commit to things, but in things like studying, saving, and all of that, you can always have a plan, and have a fixed plan, guys. It's hard to save when you're going to be the one depositing the money and you have access to it. But imagine if you have an investment banker that helps you. Okay, not even the investment banker, but if you've got a fixed account that is 5 years, that is fixed for 5 years, and you deposit at least 1,000 Rand for the next 5 years, and you can't have access to it, you can imagine by the time 5 years come, you have all the savings that you need. So yeah, it's very, very, very important that you have a plan, and don't just do everything that you see on socials, guys. You see people going for trading, how you want to trade. You see people furthering their studies, you also want to do that. Just work around what works for you and look at the market. I always say this: it's important that you have a passion, but passion doesn't pay bills. But look at the market. What's on market? What's on demand? And what can you do? What do you have to offer to the people? And if you can monetize your skill, your talent, and what you have to offer to the people, then good, you go for it, right? So these are some of the things that people wish they knew before they started working. So yeah, you tell me what you wish you knew before you started working. And without wasting any more of your time, do not forget to be loved, don't forget to be light, and God bless you. Don't forget to pray for one another. I love you all.